Welcome back to the Wichita Toy Train Club YouTube channel. I'm Zachariah. Behind the camera we have Chris, and today we are going to go over the operation of our new O-gauge layout. This video will be mainly for our members, but this will also go public, so anybody else that has any questions, comments, put them down so that way we can see them, and we'll go ahead and get started. First things first, we need power. This layout has no power. The entire power for this layout is or the 110 volt power for all the transformers, everything else, is this one light switch right here. We'll flip that on and the whole layout comes to life. Currently there's no cover on it. We probably should put a cover on it. I'm getting there. Moving on, before we get too in-depth into actually running any of your separate locomotives, right in front here we have all of our control cabinets. I'm going to go through and we'll show what's each one, and just that way you guys know where everything is. They're specifically down and out of the way mainly because you theoretically should not need them very often. Starting up front here where I am, we pull this out. There becomes a point where my wires were not long enough, and we'll get you guys a better shot here that will probably pop up over this one. But inside here, at the far left, we have our Lionel Legacy 991 command base. This controls all the Legacy TMCC locomotives. This does not charge the Cab 2 remotes. I have the charger turned off. Next to it is the charger base for the Cab 2 remotes. If you're using a Cab 2 and it needs charge, you'll put it in the right base. It's actually a 994 expansion, just specifically a charger. Moving on, we have a small battery charger. We have rechargeable batteries. We just have spots for you guys to put any batteries you pull out of a remote. If they're dead, you just set those over there. We'll get those charged and pull out a charged battery over here from the right hand side. And back behind that is the MTH TIU. Moving on, we have all of our power bricks. This is all of the low voltage control for the layout. All of these are color coded. They're actually color coded to the wire that we use for the bus, so that way you can kind of, if for whatever reason anybody was ever looking at any of the wiring, it would all follow. Starting off, we start with track 9, which is red. Track 9 is the second main line, is what we're going to call it. For whatever reason, that's the first drawer here. We open that up. We have two 180 watt powerhouse bricks and a 360 watt PowerMaster. That PowerMaster has a green LED note telling us that it has power from our two bricks, and it has a red LED that should blink anytime you send it a command. If that red light on the PowerMaster is on solid, that means we have a short, and we will go over that here later. But that's what's in the red drawer. That corresponds with our red volt and amp meters up top here. Currently, these are the only volt and amp meters on the layout. The plan is further along, we'll put some more voltmeters around the front side of the layout. These will always be the only amp meters though. Moving on, we have black or track 8, and that is our first main line that we will come to. Again, volt amp meter, again, two 180 watt powerhouses and one 360 watt PowerMaster that controls that layout. Moving on to track 7, which is blue, that covers our yard. So that covers everything you see down here, along with the two approaches up to the main interconnect at the front of the layout, which we will see here a little later. Again, it has the same thing, two 180 watt powerhouses and a 360 watt PowerMaster to control it. Moving on to green, which is our upper loop. We have, this is the only one that's different. It has a 135 watt powerhouse with a just standard PowerMaster set for the 135 watt mode, and what this controls is our very top upper loop, and again it has its own volt and amp meter that you can see here. Moving on, we'll go ahead and go over using the PowerMasters, since that is how we get power to the track. In order to do that, we're going to need any one of our multiple remotes here. These are all in 3D printed holders. They stay right here. These are all club owned remotes. You are more than welcome to bring your own remote at any point in time. We'll go ahead and just start with the Cab 1L. That's usually everybody's go-to. Everybody's very used to it. This is not a standard Cab 1 TMCC remote. Those will not work with this layout. That allows this layout to be completely separate from any other layouts in the building. The Cab 1L is blue, the standard Cab 1 is gray and has an antenna. So if it's gray, has an antenna, you'll have to use the blue one. If you have a blue one, you're more than welcome to bring it. In order to change the channel for our specific layout here, you're going to want to push and hold set and hit 5 because ours is 5. I don't know where 5 is on the remote. And you will get one very soft beep that you probably couldn't hear from the remote. If you hear 3 beeps, either you hit the wrong button or we get something else going on because it didn't see the base. Moving on, we'll go ahead and go over the operation of the PowerMaster. For this demonstration purpose, we're going to use the yard track area and along with the yard PowerMaster. So this is track 7 as far as we are concerned. We have all of our PowerMasters set up for standard conventional control. This allows us to not have to mess with any extra switches or anything like that going from conventional or command. Most of the time, we do have command locomotives that get ran on this layout. In order to put full voltage to the track, we're going to use track 7, so TR 7. If we wanted to just go ahead and start bringing up power, we can start turning our wheel. We can see that the red light blinks on our PowerMaster. Hopefully you guys can see. I don't know if you can. But as we do that, we can then come up here and see on our voltmeter that we have a full 19 volts. The numbers on these voltmeters get a little skewed. As you put a load on them, they get a little bit more correct, but they're all kind of a relative value, so you know kind of if there's voltage and what voltage we have. That allows you to go ahead and we can run a command locomotive. We can go ahead and turn that down and run our conventional stuff. From here, you will hit whistle or bell, and that will activate your whistle and bell on any of your conventional locomotives. If we hit our direction from here, all tied to track 7, that will cut intermit power so you can change your E unit on your conventional locomotives. We are going to go ahead and quickly demonstrate what happens if we do have a derailment. Pair of pliers here that I'm going to use for these purposes. We're just going to put a little bit of voltage out. And if you do have a short, you'll start getting a flashing red LED. And then once it finally gives up, it will go to full solid. Once you have full solid, it will no longer put out any voltage, no matter what you do. The only way to reset this is 1, fix the short. Don't just reset it just because. Typically, they tripped for a reason. In order to reset it, though, we will go track 7. You hit aux 1 0, and that will reset the PowerMaster, which resets the breaker. On a very rare occasion, should the powerhouse breakers trip, you can just simply come over here and push those buttons, but those should never trip. It should always be our main controller, which you can reset from the remote. Same thing with our upper loop, even though it only has the 135 watt powerhouse. Now a quick overview of everything we have just discussed. All remotes in the holders are club owned. Remove remotes from the holders by pulling straight up. Do not pull them straight out towards you. You will break the holder. You can use any of your own handhelds with the layout except for the original TMCC Cab 1 gray handheld. Those will not work with this layout. You can increase track voltage by selecting the correct TR number and dialing up the red knob. Voltage shortcuts are as follows. aux 1 9 gives you full power. aux 1 8 gives you half power. aux 1 0 kills power or resets the breaker. Okay, last thing we do before we go ahead and we can turn on our locomotives and start bringing stuff out onto the layout is probably going to be switches. So again, for just reference right now, we're using the Cab 1L. This can all be done with the Cab 2. We'll actually probably use the Cab 2 here a little later, but we're going to start with the Cab 1L. All of the switches are numbered. Currently, there are no numbers on the physical motors. At some point in time, those actually might get physically numbered to help everybody remember. But down here in the yard, since that's where we are at the current point in time, on the far end of the yard, as if we were coming in from over there on the main track, that first switch is 1, then you hit 2, then 3, and then on this side we have switch 4, switch 5, and back up inside there is switch 6. And once we get out onto the main line, it continues with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. But the switches are very simple to use. You can hit the buttons. There's some of the buttons on the physical switch motors don't work as well as they should, mainly because there's been stuff that gets down in there. But they do all work from either the Cab 1L or the Cab 2 remote. So we'll go ahead and hit switch on the remote here. So hit switch, and we're going to hit switch 4. So we're going to go 4. And then for straight, you hit aux 1, so it has the 1 arrow on it. Or for diverging, we'll hit aux 2, which is the 2 arrows going either direction on it. So we'll go ahead and hit diverging, and we can see our switch 4 go ahead and switch. Probably a little hard for you guys to see, but it did go ahead and flip. If I go ahead and hit aux 1 again, we'll go ahead and flip back straight. It is a slow moving switch, and that's the speed at which. In this case, switch 4 did just screw up. I hit diverging. We are still obviously straight, and we do still have a red LED on it. If that does happen, these DZ2500 switch machines do have some issues every now and again. If that does happen, simply just hit straight again. It will kind of realize it's already straight. You can hit diverging, and it should work after that. Of course, this time it did not, so I'll hit straight. It will fix itself. It won't go back to diverging. And there it goes. Again, like I said, they do, on occasion, have some issues. If the switch motor does stall, I'm going to go ahead and make it stall here. If I hold the points here, it will try, and eventually it will give up and stall, and what we get is a flashing red LED. A little hard for you guys to see, but it is there. This does happen. You can either push the button on the remote, or since we were trying to go diverging, we'll go ahead and hit the aux 2 key on your remote again, hold it for a little bit, and it will reset the machine, and it will continue on. A quick review of switches. All switch motors can be activated by the button on the motor or from the Cab 1L Cab 2 controller. To activate any switch from the Cab 1L or Cab 2 controller, use SW and the correct number. Hit aux 1 for straight and aux 2 for diverging. If an LED indicator switches but the points do not move, send the opposite command and then try again. If the motor stalls, reset by pushing and holding the button on the motor until it starts moving, or choose the correct SW number on the cab remote and push and hold the original attempted command until the motor tries to move again. Of course, this should not be tried until confirming that there are no obstructions. Now that everybody knows kind of how everything operates, we can go ahead and get a locomotive from the yard up onto our first or second main line. Now I've switched to the Cab 2. It's a remote I'm familiar with. You can again do all of these functions with the Cab 1L. This just has now a fancy display on it. We're going to start with the conventional locomotive. Down here in the yard, like we said before, it is powered from track 7. So we'll go ahead and do. We have a conventional locomotive here, so we are not going to just put full voltage on the track. Actually, what we should probably go ahead and do first, since we do have track 7, does power everything, but all of our yard leads here have separate relays and block power controllers. So when we do put power on for track 7, immediately when power turns on, there will be no voltage on any of these 4 yard leads. These yard leads are numbered. They are numbered from starting closest to you with track 90. Next one's 91, third one's 92, and the far one's 93. There is also, I'll go ahead and you can't see it from here, there is a control panel. Actually, really, it's just one of the pillars down on the other end of our pole, and it has physical switches. All of those switches are in the CMD or command position, so that allows us to control whether or not all of these tracks get power from our Cab 2 or Cab 1L remote. If you do flip those off, no matter what you do with the remote, they will always be off. If you flip them to on, no matter what you do, they will always be on, and there are LED indicators next to each switch indicating whether or not the track has power. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and start with our conventional S2 switcher over here. It is sitting on track 91. So first things first, we will go with our Cab 2 remote here, and we're going to hit track 91. In order to turn power onto that block there, we will hit aux 1. If we want to turn that off, we can hit aux 2. So we'll stick with aux 1, and that will activate this block. It will not activate any of the other tracks down here in the yard. From there, what we'll do is we'll hit track 7, and we can go ahead and bring on our power. That apparently doesn't work. I don't know what I broke. Oh. It would work better if I actually hit the correct track number. You want track 7, not track 77. Thank you, Chris. We'll go ahead and turn that on. I think we hit a dead spot because I have full voltage. There we go. We'll go ahead and bump our. And there goes our locomotive. If it's in neutral, we can hit our direction, and we'll go backwards. And we'll come back forward. We'll go ahead and turn that voltage down because it goes. So, all of our switches do have a auto non-derail. The switcher actually just did activate it. It came a little bit further than it needed to, but that's there are some of them that don't work immediately. Sometimes you have a dirty wheel, so those auto non-derail won't always catch the train and when it first enters. So we have our switcher selected. We can turn our power on and off. We're going to do, since we're going to go to track 8, we're going to, since we know we don't have any load behind here, we don't have any cars behind it. What we're going to do is we're going to go to track 8, since that's our first main line on our Cab 2, and we're just going to barely turn on voltage. We can come up top here and we can see our voltmeter for track 8. You guys probably can't read it all that great, but we're going to put it about 3 or 4 volts. Just that way we keep moving once we get up front there, since we do have a conventional locomotive. There may be an additional step that will kind of help isolate that portion of track 8 if you were going to track 9, but we're just going to start with track 8 here. So we have power on at track 8, so that way we know we won't stop. We have switch 5 flipped by the auto non-derail. We'll go ahead and flip switch 6 from the controller here once I find out where switch 6 is. And then since this is switch 6, as we go around and come up to where the intersect for track 8 is, that switch is switch 7. So I'm going to go ahead and hit switch 7. We're going to hit diverging, so that way we know that switch is set. We'll come back over here to track 7. Track 8 already has power, so once we cross that bridge, our locomotive will continue. So off we go. Okay, we are up here at what we're going to call our interchange. To your left, you can see the conventional locomotive poking its head out. That's where, from the direction we were going, that's where our yard lead comes out. We can see what is switch 7 right here. It is switched and ready to go. Track 8 does have a small voltage on it, so that way once we cross our threshold, which is actually the track joint right here, we won't stop or anything like that. So in this case, we're just going straight to track 8. We're going to do that first here, and we can come back and try to go over going to track 9, which is our other main line. So we'll go ahead and bring up power on 7, since that's where we are. As soon as we cross, track 7 now no longer works. So you'll have to go on your remote. You want to make sure track 7 has 0 voltage and switch to track 8, and now you have full control of your locomotive. Okay, we've went one loop around the layout here. We're going to go ahead and go over to track 9. Again, you can do this at any point in time. And in this case here, we're not starting at track 7. If you were starting at track 7, you would want that small voltage on track 8 already. So that way when you go from 7 to 8, you can then continue on to 9. That is set up to probably, at some point in time, if we do run a lot of conventional locomotives, we might add a switch here to try to decrease one extra step, trying to balance 3 power supplies all at the same time here. That's currently not set up. We wanted to show everybody how to use the yard now that the yard is fully functional. Anyway, moving on. So we're starting again here from this point. Like we said before, this is switch 7. The 4 switches, excuse me, that control our interlock for our 2 main lines. Each 2 switches are tied together. So back behind here, there is 1 switch. It is switch 8, and as we move over, the next switch is also switch 8. Thus, our 2 switches that we're going to use in order to get this locomotive onto track 9 is switch 9. So we will go ahead and use our cab 1L. You can also use the cab 2. We actually want switch 9. We'll go ahead and hit diverging. Since 2 switches do flip with that, you want to go ahead and confirm that both switches flipped. We can go ahead and turn on track 9. We'll put a small voltage on track 9 so that way once we cross that threshold again, we continue moving. Move back to track 8. Go ahead and bring on power. And we're off. Once you cross that threshold, you can probably go ahead and, as you can see, we didn't have enough voltage to keep moving, so we'll go ahead and turn track 9 up so we can continue up the grade, revert track 8 to no power, or give it back to whoever is on track 8 for their control. So in the process of making this video, we had realized that, or at least I had realized that we really did need to go ahead and activate our optional relay. For the help of conventional locomotives. This can be used to get a conventional locomotive from our yard, track 7 to track 9, or in any form of the imagination where a conventional locomotive is on one of the 2 main lines or trying to get to one of the 2 main lines. So if, say, we have a command engine on 9, but a command engine on 8, and we want to take that conventional engine down, or our command engine down, we can switch full power to this portion of the interchange and leave our conventional locomotive completely uninterrupted, of course assuming the timing all matches out. Otherwise, all of our engineers need to pay attention, make sure you don't enter the interchange when somebody else is using it, naturally. So what this is going to do, so we have our normal crossing points are right here, and the switch 10 on the other end. That's going from our yard power supply track 7 to track 8. So from there, we can actually cross, and that'll be track 9 now. And where it's going to break away from track 8, it's going to be right here, and then right past the switch on the main line on the other end for switch 10. So, and how we're going to do this is we're going to call this section track 95. This can currently only be activated with the cab remote. I do not currently have any sort of indicator light on the fascia or any external switch. If we can actually add that, I will try to do that. I just kind of figure out what we're doing with the skirting and with the plexiglass, so that way we don't have any interference there. But anyway, so the way we're going to do this, just for demonstration purposes, we're going to go with track 8, aux 1.9, so that's full power. That's a full 18 volts on track 8. We can see over there we have a wind turbine up and running, so that we know we have full power on track 8. So that's as if we have a command engine running on track 8. We don't want to take our post or NW2 there onto track 8 with full power. It will go flying, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go with track 9.5, and it is a simple relay. So it's an on-off. Aux 1's on, aux 2 is off. So we will activate it with aux 1. We're going to go ahead and get our switches aligned here. So we need switch 7 there. We're going to switch 7. We're going to go diverging. And we're going to come along here, and with the way we are going, we are going to want to go with switch 9. So we take switch 9 and go diverging. Okay, like we said, we have full power on track 8. We can see our windmill turning over there, spinning. We're going to go, we have our switch 9 flip. We're going to flip switch 7. It's being finicky. Switch 7 is flipped. We have our relay activated. Of course, unfortunately, I have no visual way to confirm that. I just know it is. because I activated that. So we are going to go ahead and take our, so since we're going to track 9, we have this section of track here as if it is track 9. We're going to go with track 9 here on our cab remote. We're just going to kind of crack that throttle. We can see and we have our other windmill over there just barely turning, so we know we do have power going on over there. Again, at some point, we should have some voltmeters actually out and about for the 2 main lines, possibly the yard, which will also help and indicate our voltage in different spots. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and bring up track 7 here for our switcher. Obviously, see, we could see we didn't have enough power on track 9 to continue. But this is typically a track 8 spot. So if it had the full power from track 8, like track 8 currently does, we would be flying. We can continue on to track 9. Of course, I went too slow across the switch and we had the dead spot. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Try this again. And we're off to the races. What we need to do now is we need to go ahead and go with track 9.5. Disengage that relay. We need to make sure our switches are back straight, so we will take switch 9, and we will make that go back straight, and switch 7, and we'll send that back straight. That way, whoever our train on track 8 can continue, and we can run our conventional locomotive here on track 9. Okay, we are going to go ahead and move our conventional locomotive back down into the yard. First things first, before you go into the yard, you want to make sure you have all your switches aligned in the yard and power applied to the block that you're going to go into for the yard leads. Before we go and do anything else, we're going to go with our cab 1L or cab 2, go with track 7, put a small voltage on the on that yard track. Again, at some point in time, we'll get some voltmeters up front here so you guys can see that real easy. We'll jump back to track 8. We already moved back to track 8. It's just as simple as moving to track 9. You just use the other switch, which is switch 8, and move back. So we are back up over in there on track 8. Go ahead and apply power. Assuming, oh, there we go. And there we go. I guess I should have probably flipped our switch so that way we actually went down the yard lead. As you can see, we are still on track 8. My apologies to the cameraman because he's over here holding a heavy camera. So we are going to be ready to go. We have our track ready to go. We did forget to switch to switch 10. Make sure that's diverging. That is our switch down here to go back down here to our yard lead. Jump back to track 8. And here we come. Now that we're on track 7, this here is track 7, we can go ahead and have full control of our locomotive. And so that way track 8 can go back to whoever is now going on to it, or just turn it off. A quick overview of conventional operation and yard operation. Yard tracks get power all from track 7, but are individually blocked from TR90 to TR93. aux1 engages the relay for power, aux2 disengages the relay for power. Ensure all turnouts are thrown before proceeding out of the yard and onto the main line. After you are on the main line and running, be sure to turn power off on track 7 and realign any turnouts. To get to track 9, use the relay TR95 to make the interchange all part of track 9. aux1 engages this relay and aux2 disengages this relay. Now that we've gone over our conventional locomotive, we'll move on to another command locomotive. What we're going to start with is actually a LionChief Plus 2.0 locomotive. So it has TMCC on board, so we can run it again with either our cab 2 or cab 1L, but we'll add in an extra step of being able to also use a Bluetooth. In this case for Bluetooth, we're going to use the orange universal remote. In the place of that, you are more than welcome to use the Bluetooth LionChief app from your phone or tablet. So to start with, we have our little 060 back in there, and that would be, so we're 90, 91, this is track 92. We had 91 on earlier from our conventional locomotive, so we'll want to hit track 91, hit aux 2, so that way we know this block is off. Not that there's nothing in there, but that way if anything ever does enter in there, we know that that track is off. We know all of our others are off. Since we're wanting track 92, we'll go ahead and track 92. We'll hit aux 1. That will now connect that block there with the rest of track 7. Track 7 is currently off, of course. I guess we probably should have started there since we had it on earlier. Anyway, since we do have what is essentially a command locomotive, we are going for full voltage. We don't need any sort of variable voltage. So we'll go to track 7. And now, since, again, like I said, we want just full voltage, we could sit here and spin our wheel full up. But a shortcut for that is to go ahead and hit aux 1. And then hit the number 9, and that will give us full voltage on track 7. If we go up here to our voltmeter, we can see it's up towards 19 volts. Probably, again, you guys are kind of at an angle, so it's a little harder to see, but it's there. So we do have full voltage there. We'll go back to our cab 2. That locomotive is programmed as engine 6 as far as a TMCC locomotive goes. We can go ahead and activate it. Of course, it doesn't work. What the heck? And what the case is here, if in the cab 2, we see there is a locomotive typed up in here. This locomotive is a legacy locomotive. If we hit info, we can go and see that it's legacy. We can go ahead and hit info and change that to R100 for our TMCC for our LionChief locomotive. Or we can go ahead and set this off to the side and grab a cab 1L and use that instead. So that way that'll work. So we'll go with our engine 6. We can go ahead and blow the whistle. And there it comes up to life. If you do have any TMCC locomotive and you blow the whistle to activate it, and it does nothing but you turn the wheel and it moves and everything, the cab 1L is capable of sending out the whistle command for legacy locomotives. So if that's the case, more than likely your cab 1L just for that locomotive is specifically set to send that legacy command. You just need to switch that back to TMCC so that way you can blow your whistle. The way you do that in this case, we can blow our whistle. So if I switched it to legacy, it won't let us. So we are on engine 6 because obviously I'm getting all of those commands here. If we push and hold set at the bottom of the remote and then hit the whistle button, we get 2 little beeps from the remote. You guys probably couldn't hear, but they are there. Now when I push the whistle button, I get nothing. That is because it is sending a legacy command. I can still do everything else. Go ahead and fix that. We'll do the same thing. We'll push and hold set, hit the whistle button. You'll get a long beep, and as you can hear, our whistle works again. Again, if you have your own remote, you probably won't have that problem. If you're using a cab 2 and would like to adjust that, feel free to go ahead and adjust anything in the cab 2. Somebody else comes back along the way and needs to adjust it, they can. In this case, that is running this locomotive, a TMCC locomotive. We're going to go ahead and we're going to still need this remote. I'm going to just set this down and we're going to go ahead and grab the orange universal remote. So this remote is Bluetooth enabled, it's also RF enabled for any of your LionChief locomotives. We have a video on the universal remote if you would like to see that. But we're going to go ahead and connect this to our 060 there, and we're going to run the 060 with this. In the place of this, you could, of course, again, use your LionChief app from your phone or tablet. We'll go ahead and flip this on with the switch on the side. We have power. We hit 1. I believe 1 probably already has something connected, so it is blinking, probably trying to find that locomotive. We have kind of a double heartbeat and then a longer. We'll go ahead and turn that one. Well, we'll jump to 2, maybe. I don't remember which one has. We're not finding it, so we might have locomotives programmed in all 3 of these. We're going to go with 1. We're going to push and hold until we get the quick flash. That way we know it cleared any memory. There we go. You get a slow flash and it will connect. Even I have to remember how to use these sometimes. So we are now connected. If you get, if you're trying to push something and you kind of get that flash there, that means it is trying to find a locomotive it is already connected to. You push and hold, it'll clear that, and you can connect it again, and it will control the locomotive that you're trying to control. Again, this does all the LionChief locomotives. We'll go back to 1. It disconnected, so it'll find it here, and we have full control. The only downside with using these and starting down here in the yard is you do not have any control of the switches from this remote or the LionChief app. We are moving forward. There we go. So we'll have to set that down. We are going to track 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring up track 8 so that way when we get over there, we'll have full voltage and be able to continue on our way. So we'll go with track 8. We'll hit aux 1.9 for full voltage. We'll go ahead and hit switch 7. Since that is our first switch we will get to going this direction. Hit diverging. That way we know that switch is flipped. Now looking at our switch setup here, we're going to need switch 4 here needs to be diverging. Switch 5 has to get switched back to straight, and switch 6 is already diverging. So we will go with switch 4 first. We'll go ahead and get that set. It acted up, so we'll have to play with it here. Get it switched. Go with switch 5. Go ahead and set that back straight. And we will be good with this for now. Go ahead and grab our universal remote, and we can move her on out. We're going to move along here with our command locomotives. These are basically all exactly the same, just using their respective controller. Up here we have our 060, which is TMCC, but we are running with our LionChief Plus, our LionChief Universal Remote. We do still have to have our cab 2 on us. We have switch 7 flipped. We're going to go ahead and go straight to track 9. So track 8 must have full power. We have that set. We have track 9 with full power. You track 9, aux 1.9. That gives track 9 full power. Again, we're going to use switch 9 to continue on to track 9. That flips both switches. So we're going to go, we have all of those set. We're going to go ahead and pull out and continue on. Now that we have done TMCC and LionChief, along with our conventional locomotive, we can go ahead and move to Legacy. Legacy is very similar to TMCC, and of course you can use the Cab 1L, and it is, again, basically exact. But we're going to go ahead and show everybody how to program your Legacy locomotive with our base. That way we cover all the aspects of Legacy. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to shut track 92 over there off since we got our 060 out of the way. So we go track 92, we hit aux 2, that will kill that one. We do still have full power on track 7. We have our Legacy locomotive. It is full command, so we can go ahead and just turn on track 90. So we'll go ahead and hit TR, and we'll hit 90 for track 90, hit aux 1, and we will get full power. This Legacy locomotive does not have any lights that come on immediately. So we don't see any evidence of track power being on, but we can check our little pillar further down and see that the light is on, and we know from our voltmeter that we have full power on track 7. This locomotive is programmed under engine 18, so we're going to come in here, we'll find engine 18. We can blow ahead and we'll start it up.
This is the dispatcher. Start up and hold. Over. Okay, let's get to work. Out.
We'll go ahead and start it up. Of course, you could blow the whistle or whatever. I hit the extended startup in this case. All of our lights will come to life. Move this remote out of the way here. All of our smoke turns on, and we're basically ready to move it out. This locomotive is already programmed into our base, so I cheated a little. Real quick, we do have our LCS center tracks on both track 90 and 91 at the other end of the yard naturally. If you run any LCS equipped legacy locomotive over those, it will load all the information from the locomotive into the base for you. You can, of course, load everything in through the module, and what you would do for demonstration purposes, I'm going to clear the information out of this locomotive. So if it has nothing in there, this is what you'll see. You will see cab 1. What we're going to want to do is go ahead and hit info. If you have a module, we are going to come down, you're going to go ahead and insert that in the top, and it will ask, you could hit load, or it'll probably already automatically insert the module. See, this tells you to insert the memory module. Once you insert that, it'll ask you if that's the correct locomotive. You'll hit yes, and it will load all that information. In this case, I'm going to exit back out of here. We can see we have cab 1 mode, and we are going to go ahead and use that LCS center track on the far end of the layout. We're just going to send it down there. So I'm going to hit direction. You can still control the locomotive with the remote set up like this. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll just respond as if it was a TMCC engine. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to send it down the line here. I think the momentum's set for a little high, so I'm going to hit the L down at the bottom of the remote to decrease the momentum, so it speeds up here real quick. Wait for it to go down. Okay, it has successfully loaded all the information in there. It may not update immediately. Sometimes what you have to do is hit engine, switch back to a different engine and go back to switch to engine 18, and you can see that all that information that was in there before is back in there. So we have our full quillable whistle, all of our icons, and we can go ahead and move forward, and we have our graph. Except we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring it back up here, and we'll set our switch, and we can move out onto track 8. Except I still went the wrong way. Okay, so I finally figured out how to use the direction button, and I got it back up front here. And we will go ahead and switch 6 is diverging. You guys can't see it, but we'll go ahead, hit switch 6. Go ahead and make sure that's straight. We know switch 7, I have switch 7 already flipped. Our track 8 already has full power. So we are going to go ahead and move it on out. Go back to our engine 18, and out we go. We will see it on the other side. Okay, here's our legacy locomotive. It came up the yard lead. Again, we'll have our switch 7 already preset. We're going straight on to track 8, so track 8 has full power, and we can continue on. You can can do all that from your Cab 2 remote. Once the locomotive crosses our switch, we'll want to make sure we throw that back straight and go ahead and turn off our track power as long as everybody is done down there. So go back to switch 7, turn that back straight, and we'll go to track 7 and turn off track power. And we can go back to engine 18 and run our locomotive. A review of all Lionel command control operations. To get full voltage for your command-equipped locomotives, hit TR, the correct track number, aux1 9. To turn off voltage, hit TR, the correct track number, aux1 and then 0. It should be noted that the Cab 1L can control both legacy quilling whistles and the regular TMCC whistle. If your TMCC whistle does not work, it may be set for legacy. If you would like the legacy quillable option, use the following. Push and hold the set button at the bottom of the remote, and then hit whistle. 2 beeps from the remote will equal a legacy whistle. 1 beep from the remote will equal a TMCC whistle. Be sure to shut off all track power in any unused track sections and to realign any switches to their original positions. LionChief locomotives can of course be ran with the LionChief app, the universal remote which is available at the layout, or the original remote if you brought that with you. Now that we've done all the easy locomotives, we're going to switch control systems and we're going to use a MTH DCS locomotive. As far as the layout is concerned, everything will be ran the same. The only issue is you can't control the switches or track power from your DCS handheld. Again, you can bring your own DCS handheld if you have one. Our TIU is TIU1, so for whatever reason you use 2 at home, you'll have to adjust that here. Other than that, if you don't even know what I'm talking about, I bet it's set up as 1, and we are also set up as 1, so you should have no issues. This remote already has our locomotive added, so what we need to do is go ahead and bring on track power. You can also use the DCS Wi-Fi app. We have the Wi-Fi module. You just have to connect to our local network. The only caveat with the app is if you don't already have your locomotive loaded into your app, you cannot do that from the yard. It's just a weird glitch from the watchdog signal generator, which is a very fancy term for me saying that way the locomotive doesn't take off like a rocket when we turn on power. DCS sends out a signal whenever we turn on track power. Since track 7 typically stays on and we're going to be switching those blocks on and off intermittently, we have a generator that sends out that watchdog, so that keeps all of our DCS locomotives silent anytime we turn on any of these given tracks without having to turn track 7 on and off. So now with that techno barbell out, we will go ahead and we'll fire up this GG1. It is sitting back there on track 93. Track 7 has full power. Again, you can do that from your Cab 2 or Cab 1L remote from track TR7 and aux1 9. That gives you full power. That's what you'll want for your DCS locomotive. We want to go ahead and activate track 93. Go ahead and turn that on with aux1. That gives that full power. We are going to track 8. So we'll go ahead and make sure track 8 has full power. Hit TR8, aux1 9. Track 8 has full power. We're going to go ahead and set all of our switches so that way we are ready to rock and roll. Switch 4 here needs to be straight. Switch 5 is already straight. Switch 6 is currently straight, so we need to change it to diverging. So we will go switch 4, and we're going to make that straight. We're going to hit switch 6. And we're going to go ahead and make that diverging. Again, you can push the buttons on the actual switch motors, assuming they cooperate. If they don't, you're going to have to grab a remote. You still want this close by. We're going to go ahead and grab our DCS handheld. Go ahead and power it on. Like I said before, this one already has the GG1 already added. If you need to add the locomotive, you can simply hit engine and either find your engine in the scroll menu or add your engine as needed. So we'll go ahead and start it up. That's number 3 down here. We have full power of our GG1. It should be noted that with DCS, you cannot hit the red emergency stop button. If you do hit that, the TIU will have to be reset. The TIU does not control track power whatsoever, so it actually will not stop anything. If you do need to do an emergency stop, we need to find a Lionel remote and hit the red triangle on any of the given Lionel remotes. Other than that, we can go ahead and move it out. If you do need to stop your locomotive, typically hitting the direction button stops it fairly quickly. We have all of our switches set, and we will get it pulled out here. Find my little button. All right, we got our DCS locomotive up here. Again, we have switch 7 already flipped. We're going to go stay on track 8 here, so we don't need to do anything else with the cab 1L. We'll go ahead and pull out. Once our train is passed, we'll make sure switch 7 goes back straight. We'll have to use the cab 1L to do that. Kill our yard power. That way nothing happens while we're running our train. And you can go ahead and set this off to the side and run your train with your DCS remote or the app if you so choose. Off we go. Switch 7 straight. We'll turn off track power, and off goes our train. A review of DCS operation. You must use the Cab 1L or Cab 2 controller to control track power and switches. The DCS Wi-Fi app is unable to add locomotives anywhere on track 7, but can control them anywhere on the layout if they are already loaded. The DCS e-stop function will not work whatsoever, and if it is pressed, will not stop any trains, and the TIU must be reset. Okay, the last thing we're going to go ahead and show everybody how to do is we're going to go from, you remember we took our little 060 and we sent it straight to track 9? Well, you do have to go to track 9 in order to get to our track 3 top loop. We do have a connection there. We're only going to show you doing this with a command locomotive. That's probably the easiest way to do this. You could try to do it conventional if you really so choose. Based off all of our other examples, you could probably figure out how to do that. So with the way we came up naturally, we can't just go straight into the track. We see our switcher is right here, our switch is here. We're actually going to have to pull forward and back in. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Our top loop here is track 3. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to make sure track 3 has full power for our conventional our command locomotive, excuse me. I'm using our Cab 1L here. Again, if you're using any other command system, just if it's not Lionel, if you're doing an MTH DCS, you're just going to have a Lionel one close by to flip the switches. Other than that, everything's pretty straightforward for your command locomotives. Go ahead and pull forward here. Our full train has crossed the switch. That switch is switch 12. That switch switch 12 is also programmed as our other switch on the other side because you will never flip one and not the other. If you notice, our switch 10 is our switch for going back down into the yard on the other end of our interchange. So the only other switch you're missing is switch 11, which is our siding on the far east side of the layout. So we can go ahead and hit switch 12 on our Cab 2 or Cab 1L remote, hit diverging, while the normal straight position is actually curved on the switches. Hitting the diverging setting is actually what sends them straight in order to go ahead and connect to loops of track here. So we have that. We make sure both of our switches actually flipped and nothing freaked out on us. We can go ahead and reverse our train. And backwards we go. Right here in the center of the bridge is where the power transfers. So if we're concerned about that for any sort of reason, that's where we go from track 9 over here to track 3 over on this side. Our fold train has cleared the switch. We'll go ahead and flip switch 12 back straight. That will actually send both switches curved, so that way the main line is straight, uninterrupted. If nobody is on track 9, go ahead and turn track power off on track 9. If you have somebody else running on track 9, they can go back to their due diligence. You can go back to your engine on your whichever remote you are using. And we can go around on our top loop here. This concludes our hopefully quick how-to video on how we operate our layout here at the Wichita Toy Train Club. If you're a member, I hope this helped out. If you are not and you're just watching for the fun of it, I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, put them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell so that we get all of our notifications of our product reviews, layout videos, running train videos, all of our videos. And go ahead and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.